Welcome to Exposing the Truth in the Digital Evidence. We're about to do a deep dive today, and this one's really geared towards you, Dr. Sampak College of Business students. If you're in the BBA for Management Information Systems, the BAS in Information Technology, or the BS in Computer Information Systems, especially those focusing on computer forensics, this is for you.
Absolutely. But honestly, if you're any college student or even a working professional just interested in computer forensics, you're definitely in the right place.
Exactly. Today, we're unpacking a really crucial topic, cloud forensics. It sounds techy, and it is, but it's everywhere now. Our mission, basically, is to help you get a handle on the key concepts and ideas from Chapter 13, Cloud Forensics. It's from the Textbook Guide to Computer Forensics and Investigations, 6th edition, by Nelson and Stewart.
Yeah, it's a great resource. We want you to understand how digital investigation works when you're dealing with the cloud.
Yeah.
Which is different.
It really is. So before we jump in, if you find this helpful, please do like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, all that good stuff.
It genuinely helps us keep these conversations going.
Okay, let's get into it. Cloud computing. I mean, it's fundamentally changed how we manage data, right? How we store it, interact with it.
Totally. But that convenience, it brings a whole new set of challenges for investigators. Big ones.
Yeah, traditional forensics, well, it just wasn't built for data that's sort of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
It's funny you say that because, the actual idea of cloud computing isn't as new as people might think. It's got a pretty surprising history.
Oh, really? Like how far back?
We're talking visionaries like Professor John McCarthy at MIT and Dr. J.C.R. Licklider at ARPA way back. They were laying the groundwork conceptually decades ago.
Wow. So the concept's been around, but the application is what exploded.
Exactly. The commercial side really kicked off around 1999. Salesforce.com was a big player there.
Right, with their CRM web service. That really showed what was possible, moving business functions online.
It really paved the way. Then you saw the giants jump in: Amazon EC2, Google Apps, Apple's iCloud, Microsoft OneDrive. They all built on that.
So connecting this back, how do we define what the cloud actually is structurally for investigation purposes?
Well, NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they have a standard definition. Basically, it's a system providing on-demand network access for lots of users. And crucially, it has flexible storage allocation. It can scale up or down. That flexibility is key, but also a forensic challenge.
Okay, so that structure, how does it break down? You hear terms like SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. What do those mean in practice?
Good question. Those are the three main service levels. Think of it like layers of control. First up is SaaS, software as a service. This is like using webmail or an online CRM. You just use the application. The provider handles everything underneath.
Gotcha, like Google Docs or something. You just use it.
Exactly. Then there's the PaaS, platform as a service. Here, the provider gives you the operating system, like a Windows or Linux environment in the cloud. You load your own applications and data onto that platform. The provider manages the OS and hardware, but you control the apps.
Okay, so more control, maybe more logs for you to find, potentially?
Potentially, yes. And finally, IaaS infrastructure as a service. This is the most fundamental level. Here, you basically rent the raw hardware server storage networking. You supply and manage your own OS, applications, databases, everything.
Maximum flexibility, but also maximum responsibility for security and, well, forensic readiness.
Precisely. And beyond those service levels, you also have deployment methods, how the cloud is set up.
Right, like public versus private.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got the public cloud, like AWS or Azure, available to anyone. Then the private cloud, dedicated infrastructure for just one organization. More control, maybe easier forensics in some ways.
Okay.
Then there's the community cloud, shared by several organizations with common needs, like maybe specific compliance requirements. And the hybrid cloud, which mixes these, maybe keep sensitive data private, but use public cloud for web servers.
That makes sense. And obviously, tons of providers out there. Salesforce, IBM, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Rackspace, Oracle. They all do things slightly differently, right?
Hugely differently sometimes. Their architectures, their policies. It all impacts how you conduct an investigation.
So that brings us to cloud forensics itself. What's the core idea?
Simply put, it's applying digital forensic principles to cloud environments. It's often seen as a subset of network forensics, but I'd say it's broader now.
How so?
Well, it's not just technical. Our source material highlights 3 dimensions, which I think is a really useful way to look at it.
Okay, what are they?
First, the organizational. That's about the structure of the cloud provider itself, how they operate. Second, legal. This covers the service agreements, jurisdiction issues. Huge complexities there,
We'll definitely need to unpack that legal side.
for sure. And third, the technical dimension. This is the nitty-gritty, the procedures, the specialized tools you need for recovery and analysis in the cloud.
Makes sense. So the tools themselves need special capabilities.
Absolutely. Think about it. You need tools that can handle data collection across networks, deal with potentially massive scale. That's the elastic part. They need to handle live data, static data. Crucially, they need to manage evidence segregation, especially when data from different customers is mixed or commingled. And they have to work in virtualized environments. Traditional tools often just weren't built for that.
Okay, let's pivot to that legal dimension you mentioned. It sounds like a major hurdle.
Oh, it is. Probably one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Cloud tech moves so fast, and the laws, well, they're lagging way behind.
How so?
Think about data stored across multiple countries instantly. Which country's laws apply? How do you get legal access? The old models based on physical location just don't fit neatly.
Right. So how do you even prepare for an investigation with that uncertainty?
You have to start with contracts, understanding the cloud service provider's obligations, what's in that service level agreement, or SLA.
SLAs, sometimes called CSAs, Cloud Service Agreements.
Exactly. Or master service agreements. They detail the services, support, penalties, performance, all that. But forensically, you're looking for specific things.
Like what?
You need to know their policies on data access for investigations, their incident response procedures, their business continuity and disaster recovery plans. Those can be gold mines for finding data.
And things like service hours, restrictions, support levels, data transfer speeds, that all matters if you need to acquire evidence quickly.
Critically important, especially response times and throughput limitations. Also, how do they define security measures? What terminology do they use? You need to speak their language.
And the multi-jurisdictional stuff needs to be clear in the contract, too. How conflicts between laws are handled.
Ideally, yes. Though the contract usually doesn't override local privacy laws or criminal procedures, it gets complicated fast.
So examiners really need to dig into the details. Restrictions, security measures, maybe even internal CSP documents if they can get them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Policies, standards, those BCDR plans, they can tell you a lot about how data might be recovered or what logs might exist.
Which brings us back to jurisdiction. You mentioned commingled data.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It can be. Mixing data from multiple customers on the same physical hardware. How do you surgically extract evidence for one case without violating the privacy of hundreds of others?
Yeah, and if the servers are at another country with strict privacy laws?
Exactly. There's no single law guaranteeing access or standard handling procedures worldwide. The definition of privacy rights varies massively.
So examiners could actually be held liable?
Potentially, yes. That's why legal counsel is non-negotiable in cloud cases. You have to consult legal experts who understand this specific area.
Okay, so assuming you navigate the legal side, how do you actually get the evidence? Warrants, subpoenas.
Both are used. Warrants are generally for criminal cases, requiring probable cause, usually to seize data. Subpoenas are more often for information, used in both civil and criminal cases.
And in the U.S., there's the ECPA, right? The Electronic Communications Privacy Act.
Correct. ECPA outlines 5 ways the government can get electronic info from a provider: search warrants, subpoenas with or without notice, court orders, with or without notice, different mechanisms for different situations and data types.
And for a search warrant, probable cause is needed. But in the cloud, you're seizing data, not usually hardware, unless the CSP is the target.
Right. But here's a huge risk: spoliation. If you announce a search, or even if the target just suspects one,
They could delete or alter the evidence.
instantly, destroying, altering, hiding that electronically stored information, or ESI, it's a massive concern. That data can vanish.
Wow. Okay, shifting to the technical challenges, it sounds like cloud forensics requires a really broad skill set.
It really does. You're pulling from data recovery, network analysis, database security, software security,
Yeah.
even international relations sometimes with the jurisdiction issues. It's very interdisciplinary.
And the architecture itself is a challenge. You said no two CSPs are the same.
Exactly. That variety makes standardization hard. Data might be commingled, as we discussed. Log-keeping practices can vary wildly.
Which makes it hard to trace the origin of data or maintain the chain of custody.
Precisely. Verifying cloud evidence is critical. You have to cross-reference everything: logs, metadata, other related data. Often you're reconstructing events piece by piece.
And those MC times, modified, access, create times are still key.
Absolutely crucial. Along with other metadata, they help validate file access and timelines.
You also mentioned anti-forensics, people actively trying to hide or destroy evidence.
Yes, that's a constant battle. Your hackers or insiders trying to cover their tracks. They might corrupt data, wipe logs, use encryption strategically.
How do you counter that?
One basic but powerful technique is hashing. Calculating hash values of files and comparing them to known good versions or just tracking changes over time can reveal tampering.
What about the people involved, incident responders?
Super important. Many CSPs have their own internal teams. If not, the external examiner might need to coordinate with or even train the CSP staff on proper evidence handling.
So cooperation is key.
Absolutely. Cooperation from staff, support from management, clear communication, proper training on chain of custody. It's essential for a smooth investigation.
And things like role management, understanding who had access to what.
Vital. Knowing about data owners, user identities, access controls, that helps identify suspects, other victims, and understand the scope of an incident.
With all this complexity, are there efforts to standardize things?
Thankfully, yes. Organizations like the Cloud Security Alliance, CSA, ISC, InfoSec Institute, SANS, the National Institute of Justice, they're all working on standards, best practices, and training certifications for cloud forensics.
That's good to hear. It's needed.
Definitely. It helps mature the field.
Okay, let's talk practicalities. How do you actually collect evidence in the cloud? Does it vary a lot?
It depends heavily on the case. Are you dealing with a network breach, unauthorized database access, an e-discovery request, recovering deleted files?
Or investigating within virtual machines?
Right. Remote acquisitions are common. And in virtual environments, snapshots copies of a VM state at a specific time can be incredibly valuable forensic artifacts.
What about encryption? That must pop up all the time.
All the time. CSPs and third parties offer it. You'll encounter encrypted data at rest, sitting on storage, and in motion, traveling over the network. Both need specific approaches to decrypt, if possible.
But fundamentally, the overall process is the same as traditional forensics. Systematic.
Yes, the core principles remain. Preserve, collect, analyze, report. But each step has unique cloud-specific complexities layered on top.
So if you're investigating the CSP itself, what questions do you need answered first?
Key things are, do you have authority to use their staff sources? Can you get detailed info on their topology, policies, storage methods? Are there restrictions on remote collection? And critically, for multi-tenant systems, can they isolate the target data without compromising other customers' privacy? Is the data local or remote? Can they provide a forensically sound connection?
Lots to confirm upfront. And if you're investigating a customer using the cloud, where do you look on their local machine?
You check the usual spots, but also things like the browser cache, any specific application folders the CSP software installs, usually under the user's profile, and definitely the Windows prefetch folder.
Ah, prefetch files. Remind us what makes those useful.
They store data applications used to start faster, like DLL paths. But forensically, they contain the app's MAC times in UTC, and crucially, a counter for how many times it's run.
That run counter sounds really useful.
It can be incredibly revealing. But if the prefetch file gets deleted, Windows recreates it, and that resets the counter in MA scenes. So grab them quickly.
Good tip. And we also need to know how services like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive store data locally on Windows, what artifacts they leave.
Yes, understanding that local footprint is key to tracing cloud activity back to the user's machine, even if the bulk of the data is remote.
Finally, tools. Are there specialized tools emerging for this?
There are. We're seeing suites like NKC Discovery and Access Data adding cloud capabilities. There are remote access tools like F-Response and more specialized ones like Frost for OpenStack environments that can even bypass the hypervisor sometimes. And Magnet AXIOM Cloud is specifically designed to pull data from cloud sources alongside phones and computers.
So the tools are evolving too. That's good.
They have to. The landscape demands it.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today, from the history and basic concepts of the cloud, through all those legal and technical hurdles in forensics, right down to the tools and specific techniques.
Yeah, it's a complex area. This deep dive really underscores how vital it is for anyone in this field, especially you students heading into MIS or computer forensics, to keep learning and adapting. The cloud isn't going away.
It really isn't. It changes the game for digital investigations.
Fundamentally.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, what stands out to you, our listener, as maybe the biggest challenge or the most surprising thing about cloud forensics? Is it the legal ambiguity? the technical complexity. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into cloud forensics, drawing from that great chapter in Nelson and Stewart's textbook.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
And please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and comment. It really helps us continue bringing these discussions to you. Until next time, keep exploring the digital world.